Your attention. At the bell in the center of the atrium, we'll get the proceedings underway in just a moment. As everybody abandon the bar and the food for the moment, thanks very much. Thanks very much to each and every one of you for being here this evening. I am Alan Bliss. I'm CEO of the Jacksonville Historical Society of Jacksonville History Center. It is our honor and privilege to discharge the public history mission for all of the people of Jacksonville in this sprawling city. It's complicated. It's every dimension that you can measure the city by, and it's for its largest. It's in physical size and in population. And at 200 years old last year, my argument is that Jacksonville has more and more interesting history to share than any other place in Florida. I know there are older places, St. Augustine to the south, Bernardino to the north, but what's happened there in the past few hundred years, right? Jacksonville's history is crowded with interesting events and interesting stories. We measured the Bicentennial from June 15, 1822. That was the date on which several dozen citizens of the lower St. Johns River Valley signed a petition to the then Secretary of State, John Quincy Adams, asking him to designate the place that they called Jacksonville in the Florida Territory as a customs port of entry. And they spelled out the arguments why that made sense, that it was a seaport on a river, and that it served its tributary region through a major river, the St. Johns River, and was a connection to surface transportation with the old Kings Road. There's no evidence that Secretary of State Adams ever made any reply, and we don't know why. I can only speculate, all of us can only speculate. My best guess is that he called for a map of the Florida Territory to be brought in and studied it under a magnifying glass. Couldn't find any place called Jacksonville and said they're not ready for a customs port of entry yet. But the name was that deployment of the name was the first time that we have any record of that title, that name being applied to this place that up until then had been informally known as Cowford or Lee Cowford. 2 years later, in 1824, Governor William Duval, another name familiar to all of us here in Jacksonville, signed a charter issuing the right to operate a cross-river ferry at the location on the St. Johns River that he identified in that charter as Jacksonville. And from there, 200 years of crowded history have tumbled out, and they continue to do that. So before we get to anyone else, I'd like to acknowledge the host for this event, Library Director Tim Rogers, who is here. And Tim, if you wouldn't mind, please
thank you all. Thank you, Alan, for that really important piece of information about how this all gets started. Of course, I'm not here to do anything except thank you for being here in the library and to thank the Historical Society for thinking of the library as a place to do this unveiling. Until we can figure out where that permanent spot is going to be, the library certainly welcomes the opportunity to host an event. In addition, I did want to say, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say we've got a couple of other activities that are happening here this evening. So after we're done here, please head back into the rest of the library so you can see the art exhibit that we have, as well as some of the other activities that are going on. On behalf of the Board of Library Trustees of the Jacksonville Public Library, Mayor Curry, and all of the employees of the Jacksonville Public Library, welcome to the Jacksonville Public Library's I was going to say starship, but what I really mean is it's not the starship, but it is certainly the superstar organization. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Carlucci. So with that, I will hand it back to Alan to take us through.
And his staff. There is a constellation of branch libraries in this really spectacular library system. All the people of Jacksonville are lucky to have that asset as an asset to life here in Jacksonville. And we're all lucky to have this magnificent temple to public education and learning and research opportunities. We really appreciate their hosting, Bill, while we're looking for a final final display place for it. I'm going to ask Jacksonville Historical Society and History Center Board Chair Dave Walker to speak, and I'd like you to note that probably more than anyone else involved with our public history mission, Dave Walker has been the spark plug, the inspiration, the animating sort of thought leader behind all the many aspects of this 200th year commemoration of Jacksonville. It was capped off last year on June 15th with a celebration here in downtown Jacksonville. But so many of the aspects of this really rose out of Dave Walker's engagement, thinking, and planning over about 2 years that preceded that. So with that, Dave, would you please say that?
First of all, that's the first time I've ever been accused of being a thought leader, but I'll tell my wife that she said that. Before we remove this ultra high-tech, high-security there's two things that I wanted to share with this group. Number one, just a sense of gratitude for the people that contributed, not only to the bell. The bell is a symbol of this incredible moment in our history, but to the collaboration that happened over the last 18 months, 24 months. Standing here in the presence of Matt Carlucci and his wife are certainly a major force in the effort. And I'm not going to go through names because I'm sure I will forget somebody and regret it later. But I really appreciate all of the people that worked so hard to recognize this important shared occasion for our community. The second thing I want to say is, if anybody in this room has any questions about their worthiness as an individual, you're worthy, okay? You've heard it tonight, you're worthy. The second thing is, we are worthy. We're worthy together. Diverse, wonderful, complicated, unique community, and I hope that this bell, for our lifetime and lifetimes to come, will remind you of your worthiness as a human being and our worthiness as a community together. So, without further ado, I think I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Bliss and continue with the program.
Thank you, Dave. As Dave Walker mentioned, Councilmember Matt Carlucci is with us. Matt is the second in what appears to be a growing line of city council members bearing the name Carlucci. More to follow, I think, right? And Matt's going to say a few words, but before I recognize him, I'd just like to say that among the civic leadership of Jacksonville, there has been no one who has been more invested and more committed to Jacksonville's history at large, and particularly to the Bicentennial last year. As a council member, Matt, along with every other council member, had the opportunity to direct American Recovery Plan funds to local initiatives, and one of the major commitments that Councilmember Carlucci made was to direct over $92,000 of his share, his seat share of the ARP funds to the Bicentennial commemoration. It was really a keystone of the effort to put on a great event. He also collaborated with the other members of the City Council in some additional significant appropriations. So that as to the administration. We're grateful to the City of Jacksonville, the Mayor, the administration, all the members of the City Council for their support. But the history-minded City Council member, Matt Carlucci, is also former board chair of the Jacksonville Historical Society. So that endows him with a little extra luster in the history telling. Matt, would you please share some of your thoughts?
All of these nice words that my wife just told us, keep it short, sugar. It is such an honor to be here tonight. I love the idea of the bell. I just think it's a treasure to the city of Jacksonville to look back at our history as we move into our next 200 years. I want to make one recognition here tonight, and I just can't help it, but Bruce Spathers. Raise your hand, Bruce. Bruce is the former Secretary of State for the state of Florida. And if you ever go to Tallahassee and you see the state capitol restored, it's because of this man right here. And he's had a lot to do. Preservation of so many historic places of significance in not only Jacksonville, but thank you for being here tonight. Okay, so here's the test. We just had our first mayoral, or not first, but we just had our mayoral election. Who was Jacksonville's first mayor? Raise your hand if you can tell me. Our first mayor of Jacksonville in 1832, right after we became a chartered city. Who can tell me who that was? Okay, William Mills. And he served 2 terms. But he must have done something right. Jacksonville became Jacksonville on my wife's birthday, at least the month and the day. June 15, 1822. We became a chartered city in 1832. And the election for the mayor was in April of 1832. And that's when William Mills was elected. But I look out at everybody here. If you are here tonight, like my friends Lindsay, Carol Brock, and so many others, you are here for one reason, because you love Jacksonville. And I would just say this in closing. Our future of Jacksonville depends on everybody in Jacksonville loving everybody else. All the time, that's when our city is going to move and propel to places that they would have never guessed in 1852. I wish I was such a great speaker that I could talk like Alan Bliss or David Locker and all those things that David Locker said. He's just sucking up for whatever reason. But I will tell you this about David Locker, the current chairman, president of the Historical Society. He is one of the great human beings in Jackson that I know. And I love him from afar. And I love all of you as much as I can, as far as I can reach. And I want to point out my wife, Karen, in the background here. God bless Jacksonville and all of its people. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Councilman. And there's another example of voice that gives life to the microphone's not working after this city. Sorry, Aaron. All right, I'm back on. So thanks again to Councilman Carlucci who gives voice to the affection, the love, and the sense of psychic and spiritual and intellectual and emotional investment that so many feel for this great and complicated city. Aaron Gibson Evans has for the past year and a half now, served as the chair of this effort to organize, the support, the funding, the execution of the Bell Project, and I'm going to ask him to speak now.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. And thank you, Dr. Bliss. I have not memorized my speech. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see so many people here for this event. And my timing, just as we're about to close out the Bicentennial year, in case you don't know, and as Councilman Privilege pointed out, a week from tomorrow starts our 201st year. So again, this is our last opportunity to have the Bicentennial. My name is Aaron Gibson Evans, and I am the chair of the Bicentennial Film Project. This night is exceptionally exciting for me. With crystal clarity, I remember how excited I was to be invited to be part of the task force assembled to plan our city's 200th birthday. Back in 2013, so 10 years ago, I began a Facebook page called, predictably, Jacksonville Bicentennial 1822-2022. With the mission of informing and getting our fellow citizens excited about our once-in-a-lifetime celebration. Eventually, my post garnered coveted attention from the Jacksonville Historical Society, or RUK, and I was thrilled. It was during initial conversations with Kate that I learned the plan for the Bird Company of Cincinnati, Ohio, to cast a commemorative bell to mark our city's significant milestone. Originally intended as a live event to take place during the Bicentennial celebration, it was the Historical Society's intention and hope that interest would be enough to finance the project. Months passed, Zoom meetings were conducted, and as far as I know, Jacksonville was getting a glorious bronze remembrance of the event. Fast forward to February of last year, I was absolutely horrified to learn that not a single penny had been raised, and there was a chance that the Historical Society would cancel the order. It was at that moment that I became defiantly motivated to ensure Jacksonville had an opportunity to get the dignified birthday present to mark the Bicentennial. What ensued afterward were many phone calls, bordering on the frantic, actually, as I was up against the proverbial upturned hourglass, emptying at an alarming rate. But I knew then, as I know now, that there are those amongst us who also feel strongly about our city, who see the potential of what Jacksonville can be, and feel confident about our collective future. To those of us at that building, investing in the Bicentennial Monument and Bell was not even a question. Then I set to task designing the monument to showcase the bell. Being the oldest modern city in Florida, and Jacksonville's founding predating admission to the Union, I thought it important this project establish a statewide precedent of tasteful and timeless landmarks for future generations. Envisioned as a gift to our city from the people, the businesses, and the organizations that call Jacksonville home as an inclusive project which everyone can be proud of. By July of 2022, just 1 month into our Bicentennial year, we had secured the funds necessary to order the bell. Where delivery took longer than we had hoped, I think you will all agree that it was well worth it. As my mother used to say, and she's here right now, my mom, anything worth having is worth waiting. About the monument. Keeping in mind, the idea was always to locate near the majestic St. John's River, as close to the Calvary that originally inspired Isaiah P. Clarke, to speak to current and to future generations about Jacksonville's first 200 years, the monument needs to have a presence, not to the point of being overwhelming, but to human scale. And since the bell is so beautifully handcrafted, the supporting structure needs to complement in an enduring way. My good friend James has illustrated the vision beautifully. Placed upon a 3-tiered dais measuring 40 feet across at ground level will be 4 Dakota mahogany granite tablets weighing a total of 3,500 pounds. Our mathematicians in the room will tell you that's 1.75 tons. Supporting the 225-pound bell will be either a steel or wrought iron structure connected to the tops of the 4 tablets. Upon these tablets will be inscribed in gold lithography all of the following. The letter written to U.S. Secretary of State John Quincy Adams petitioning the James B. Road presidency to become an official port of entry into the territory of Florida. The Bicentennial Proclamation by Mayor Lynn Kirk, and the names of those citizens, businesses, and organizations who have already supported the project, some of whom are here tonight, and I thank you all. Okay? And finally, surrounding the dais and meandering up the 3 steps of the monument, an embedded bronze timeline marking the events, all of them, that have shaped our city. Designed to be viewed 24 hours a day, strategically placed burial lights will illuminate the tablets and the bell throughout the evening hours, creating a beacon effect, essentially telling all who view the monument that Jacksonville's light will never diminish. Where much thought and energy has been put into the bell monument design, our work is far from over. We are still very much in need of sponsors for this project. Everyone is welcome to become part of Jacksonville's history by donating to the Bicentennial Monument. Interested parties may do so by scanning the QR code on the sign over here, where they can log on to jackshistory.org and follow the prompts. As well, I may be reached at jacks200bell@gmail.com. So the minimum for inscriptions into the monument are $1,000 per family or individual, or $2,500 for businesses or organizations, where all donations are welcome. Those who don't meet the minimum inscription will simply be considered gifts from the city of Jacksonville. Now that we've done all this, is everyone ready? Everyone ready to see this bell?
Thanks so much, Aaron. This project would not and could not have gotten as far as it is without his leadership, his efforts, and his steely-eyed determination to see this through to the point that we reached. During his remarks, Aaron also mentioned the other person without whom this would not, could not have happened. And I would ask all of you to give a round of applause to Jacksonville Historical Society Chief of Staff, Kate Halleck. Kate has personified patience, persistence, grace, and determination in getting this project where it is. It would not and could not have happened without her. So thanks to her. And with that, I'm going to ask Board Chair Dave Aukter and Aaron Gibson Evans if they would unveil the bell that has been much mentioned and long awaited.
Put it in your card, write it down for 1, 2, 3.
It rings when the reception continues. Please avail yourself of the refreshments, and thank you all again so much for being here. This is a great day for Jacksonville. Thank you.